Now, on a day when China had been hoping to showcase all its global power, will the turmoil that we've seen in Hong Kong and in the past few months tarnish that attempt at that image building? Well, let's take a look at how the world is viewing the unrest with Zhuang. He is Chief China Economist at TS Lombard. Bo, thank you for joining us this evening. Well, today China pulled out all the stops, clearly hoping to show the world its might, its military might, its power, its superpower status. But equally, over in Hong Kong, we saw a very different picture. We were expecting to see violent protests today. Do you think that what we saw in contrast between Beijing and Hong Kong, did that tarnish China in any way?
Yes, it definitely does, especially for international audience and who actually reading the China Glory Day of the National Day Parade, and which, as you say, huge contrast to what happened in Hong Kong. So that's why the international audience will see that China is still an authoritarian country. But on the other hand, I would say that most of the parade today is for domestic consumption instead of international consumption.
Global markets are very pragmatic, though, notoriously so. Do you think it's going to have any impact at all on markets?
Yes, I think that in the coming days we are going to see this unfortunate shooting case in Hong Kong was showcased an escalation, and I think that global market will take it very negatively in the next coming days. But the next actually big event will be in the next 2 months. Will be local elections in Hong Kong. Whether these protests will continue throughout this local election period will be the key event to watch.
Bo, since China opened its doors to the world in 1978, the economy has witnessed, we know, tremendous growth. How would you sum up China's stellar economic performance over the years?
By the benchmark of the global standard, what China has performed in the last 40 years was definitely a miracle. It's that no other country has ever done that. So that, to Chinese government's credit, they have done well in the last 4 decades.
The headlines, though, have been dominated by this trade war between China and the United States. It's far from over. We don't even think we're going to see the end of this one. But what do you think the impact has been on the Chinese economy so far?
So far, I think that on the trade front, the Chinese export to the U.S. have basically plunged about the 20% year-on-year growth. That is the one prominent impact. But on the other hand, at the same time, that the uncertainty over the trade war have definitely reduced China's manufacturing investment growth. So from the company level, they feel a lot of uncertainty. They don't want to invest too much. So that's why overall we have seen the Chinese growth have hit the lowest rate in the last 17, 19 years.
We have heard news, though, over the weekend, the United States reportedly wanting to, well, considering pretty drastic action, wanting to curb China's access to American capital specifically. How significant do you think these moves are by the United States?
Yes, if China and U.S. go for the so-called financial war, it's definitely would be significant. So far, there have been more than 150 Chinese companies actually who are listed in U.S. The overall market capitalization is about 1.4 trillion. That's equivalent to about 20% of the China market cap in the domestic market. So if they do go on for this the finance war, that's definitely be significant. But however, I think that this is part of the strategy of posturing from the U.S. government before the next round of the U.S.-China trade talk. The senior premier, Liu He, is going to U.S. for the next round of talk, and the U.S. is thinking of gaining some leverage. That's why they have came up with these delisting issues. But I don't think that it's in anybody's interest to actually roll out this financial war. Bear in mind that China still have more than 1 trillion of the U.S. Treasury bills.
Still more headlines for this trade war coming up, I'm sure. Bo, thank you very much for those perspectives, and thanks for coming in this evening. We've been speaking there to Zhuang. He's Chief China Economist at TS Lombard.